All right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're gonna be talking about tech projects,
Okay.
but more specifically how to make them resilient.
Okay. Cool.
And we got a bunch of great material,
Yeah.
um, but including an article by Watt
Mm-hmm.
all about building resilience in tech projects. So
No, that's an interesting one for sure, especially with all the high profile kind of tech hiccups we've seen recently.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely top of mind for a lot of people.
Well, speaking of hiccups,
Uh-oh.
you remember the Royal Bank of Scotland IT meltdown
Oh yeah.
back in 2012?
Yeah, I remember that one. Millions of customers locked out of their accounts.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a mess.
It was a big mess. We're gonna be using that as a cautionary tale, throughout this deep dive.
A good one too, because it really does highlight the need for what Hook calls adaptive leadership, which is, it goes way beyond just fixing the technical problem when something like that happens.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of adaptive leadership.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds a bit like, a superhero origin story, but what does it actually mean, in the context of like an IT crisis?
It's basically about leading through chaos. You're not just managing the chaos, you're actually leading through it. And imagine you're a captain, right? You're a captain of a ship.
Yeah.
And you're navigating a storm. The adaptive leader isn't just focused on patching leaks or whatever the immediate problems are. They're assessing the entire situation. They're adjusting course. They're communicating clearly with the crew, and they're inspiring confidence that they're going to get everyone through it.
So in the RBS case, it sounds like they were kind of missing that steady hand on the wheel.
Yeah, sadly they were. And, their lack of clear communication really just added fuel to the fire. Because, customers were left in the dark. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know when they were going to be able to access their money. And
Yeah.
it eroded trust, and it made the whole situation so much worse.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it seems like communication is key in these situations.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's actually, the first of Watt's 5 takeaways for building more resilient tech projects.
Okay.
But the one that really jumped out at me was this idea of systemic thinking.
Yes.
It feels particularly relevant these days with everything being so interconnected.
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial. Think of it like this. You have a bridge, right?
Right.
And there's like a tiny little crack,
Hmm.
in the bridge. Might seem insignificant at first,
Right.
but if that crack is in like a critical support beam
Yeah.
and it's left unchecked,
Yeah.
it can lead to a catastrophic collapse.
Oh, wow.
And it's the same thing with tech systems, right?
Right.
A small bug in one part of the software can cascade through the whole system and just cause a major outage.
Wow. That's kind of a chilling analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we actually implement this systemic thinking,
Mhm.
in a practical way?
Well, regular audits.
Yeah.
Regular audits are really important,
Okay.
and dependency mapping.
Okay, so tell me more about those. Like what does that actually look like?
So it's about understanding how all the pieces of your tech infrastructure, how they fit together,
Yeah.
and identifying potential points of failure. You need to know what depends on what, so that if one part goes down, you can sort of anticipate that ripple effect,
Right.
and then mitigate the damage.
Okay.
It's really about being proactive.
So it's about proactively looking for those cracks in the bridge before they become a problem.
Exactly. And this ties into another one of Watt's key takeaways, which is empowering teams.
Okay.
You need everyone on board. Everyone needs to be empowered to identify and address potential issues. Think back to that RBS situation.
Yeah.
What if someone in their IT department had noticed a red flag,
Uh-huh.
during that software upgrade, but didn't feel comfortable speaking up?
That's a great point. A culture of fear can be just as damaging as a technical glitch.
Absolutely.
So how do we create that kind of empowered team environment?
Well, it's about trust,
Okay.
open communication, and providing the right resources. Leaders really need to actively encourage their teams to raise concerns, even if it's just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And it's about giving them the training and the tools that they need to solve problems and to make decisions, without needing to constantly get approval.
Yeah.
That takes time.
I imagine that kind of empowerment leads to much faster response times during a crisis.
Oh, absolutely. When people feel empowered, they're much more likely to take ownership. They're much more likely to act quickly.
Yeah.
And it's the difference between, a team scrambling to find the one person who has the authority to make a decision
Right.
versus, a team that's already working on the solution.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Now Yu Huat also talks about learning from failure, which on the surface might sound a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But what does he mean by that?
Well, it's not about dwelling on mistakes, right? It's
Right.
about turning them into valuable lessons.
Okay.
Every tech crisis, no matter how big or small it is an opportunity to learn and improve.
So conducting thorough post-crisis reviews,
Yes.
figure out what went wrong and how to prevent it from happening again.
Exactly. Ask yourself what were the warning signs that we missed?
Mhm.
Were there any communication breakdowns? Did our systems fail as we expected them to, or were there some surprises there? And the answers to those questions they're gold when it comes to building resilience.
Yeah. It's like they say, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
Though in this case, hopefully it's not too costly of an experience.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that brings us to the fifth takeaway. And that is proactive building.
Okay.
This is about having robust monitoring systems in place. It's about testing your disaster recovery plans. It's about, updating those legacy systems before they become liabilities.
So it's not just about putting out fires. It's about fireproofing the whole building, in the first place.
Yeah. You got it. And remember, all of this starts with leadership.
Okay.
Leaders, they set the tone, they create the culture, and ultimately they're responsible for making sure that their teams are prepared to handle anything.
So it all circles back to that adaptive leadership idea
Exactly.
that we talked about, at the beginning.
Yes.
It's really the foundation for everything else.
It is. And as you suggested earlier, a great starting point is just to audit your IT infrastructure.
Okay.
Might not be the most exciting task, but it's a small step that could save you from a major headache down the line.
Great advice. So if you had to leave our listener with just one key takeaway, what would it be?
I would say think about a time you faced a crisis at work.
Okay.
Did you feel empowered to be part of the solution, or were you stuck in red tape? And
Yep.
how did that impact the outcome? Because building resilience is as much about culture
Right.
as it is about technology.
Yeah. That's a great point to ponder. So you've got a roadmap for building more resilient tech projects. It's about strong adaptive leadership. It's about embracing those 5 key takeaways. And it's about creating a culture where everyone feels empowered to contribute.
Absolutely.
And remember, resilience isn't a destination.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Hmm?
It's about constantly learning and adapting and improving.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, until next time, keep those systems running smoothly.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you all next time.
Sounds good.